So the second tournament he'll be going to has a slightly longer workup time, and instead of having long range stuff, long range distance throws, we have more heavy tree coverage and very few water hazards. So we'll be working on his forehand to get his accuracy better. The third tournament is a little bit longer workup time as well, and it's going to be a very large open field for the most part, with some moderate tree coverage, but nothing that would affect the whole greatly. So we're going to be moving back into backhand practice, as well as some overhand practice in case he needs to get over some trees. The next tournament will be Utah. Do you like Utah? Don't like Utah. Don't like Utah. So general maintenance, same as always, but we're going to be specifically trying to focus on backhand because, again, it's going to be open field, but there's going to be a lot more lines of trees in this one. Just, he'll have to get over those trees or go around them. And going around takes time, it takes shots, and we're trying to really boost his numbers here because we're ramping up to the championship at this point. The next tournament will be the Great Lakes, and it'll be a very short workup time. We only have a couple of weeks in between the last one and this. So this is probably the most unique course he's gone to so far because unlike all the other courses, which are mainly flat or forested, this one has a lot of trees. They're short, but it has constant hills, which is going to make his backhand and overhand the most important things. If he's at the top of the hill, he wants to get the disc as far as he can so he doesn't have to go at the bottom and throw it over. But if he does end up at the bottom of the hill, backhand will be very important in getting him over without having to take multiple shots or risk going off. And then one of the last tournaments we'll be doing, decent workup time. It's going to be similar to Craigshead Forest, where there's going to be a lot of tree coverage and more water hazards than were present there, with a few elevation changes, but nothing like the last tournament. And same basic idea, they'll be mainly working on backhand for this, just to try to get his accuracy up, make sure he doesn't have any problems throwing his disc into tree coverage because he threw it too far or anything. And then the Tour Championship. This will be what he's trying to get into all season. Hopefully he makes it. He's pretty good. So this will be held in Jacksonville, and it's the most unique course, even more so than Michigan?
The Great Lakes one?
Great Lakes? Yeah. So it has a very high diversity in what it actually has. So some open fields, some water terrain, some have heavy trees. It's very diverse. So because of that, and because it's a championship, he's going to be increasing his time with all of his throws because he will need all of them, and we're trying to improve as much as we can. It also has a very long workup time. So he'll have plenty of time to work out, make sure he can do this. The main difference between this tournament and the past ones is that while the other tournaments all had one course with 18 holes, this one is going to be held over the course of 4 days, and each day is going to be its own round. So he'll have to throw a course 4 days in a row, which he hasn't previously had to do. So because of that, the main difference, whenever he's doing these course runnings, he'll be increasing the amount of courses he's running. So instead of doing one a day every few days, he's going to be trying to do days in succession and increase the number. So instead of doing, one rest day, he's going to be doing 2 days in a row, then 3 days, then 4 days. And by the time he gets to week 7, he'll be running multiple courses a day. So he'll be fine as far as the stamina training goes. And in addition to that, he's going to show up a bit earlier than he has previously. He's going to be trying to practice on this course specifically, which he could theoretically do with the other courses if he wants to, which would actually be suggested under my opinion, but he feels differently. So he'll be mainly trying to walk this course, figure out what it is, figure out what he needs to do, and really try to plan, because he's gotten this far, he wants to try to end it as well as he can. And these will be the general workloads for every microcycle in the in-season. So initially for general practice maintenance, he's going to be doing 60% one rep max for 3 sets of 6 to 10. And then 20 minutes of each throw with 30 minutes put on the specified throws that you would need for each course. And then course running, one course every few days, something like that. We try not to overwork it too much on top of all the other training he'll be doing. And then the specific practice will be about the same number of times a day, but with slightly lower resistance. So let them kind of build up into it. In addition to that, you'll also be doing something we didn't mention before was for the specific week, the other difference is course walking in practice. So the thing I said is similar to what he wanted to do with the championship for walking through the course and practicing through the course if he can. I would suggest he try running through all of the major tournaments, or at least as many as he can, and try to get through them all at least once so he really knows what he's going for.
I know what you're probably thinking. We did measure his 1 rep max at the beginning, but these are basically like saying like moderate weight. We're not going to go too heavy on them. We're just trying to maintain them. So really we are trying, when we say 60% at 1 rep max, we're really using that conversion table that you can find in an econ local gym and use that and try to make sure he gets this 6 to 10 reps in.
And like we said, the reason these numbers remain stagnant is we're not trying to increase his strength over the course of the season, because it may actually hinder him more than it would help. So these numbers will remain fairly stagnant. And then after all the tournaments are done, championship, hope he made it, hope he did well, hope he won, he'll be in postseason. This will be kind of different. So instead of doing anything really related to a sport, he's going to be doing something more enjoyable. So I suggest activities like swimming, biking. He said he would plan on going on vacation at some point, possibly, so something like that. Something that's will keep him active, but not in the same cycle he's been doing. Not going and throwing a disc, not practicing a course. Doing something different, but still physically active. And the last mesocycle will be the off season. So this will be between the postseason and the preseason of next year. So it's basically just a transition phase between the transition phases. And mostly what we're going to be working on here is hypertrophy and maybe some minor aerobic training if he wants to, because again, he really doesn't need it, but something a little different, maybe work on something else that he hasn't really worked on, because basically all he's been doing is resistance training, so wants to go jogging, why not? And this will last about 3 months. It's the second longest cycle. And microcycles will be, hypertrophy, pro training, course runs if possible if he wants to. But we're going to be mainly working this back up during the preseason. So this will basically just be get some hypertrophy, get some strength, work it up a little bit, higher intensity stuff on this one possibly, and keep up his practices if he wants to. If he maybe wants to really specialize in one throw or just work on all of them, okay. But he should really try to keep all this up because he doesn't want to lose it, which he knows. And workload for the off season will be, higher one rep max than what we were doing, but we'll be doing a lot more reps of it to really try to build up the hypertrophy. And it'll be, less often during the week. Instead of doing 4 to 5, a couple days, 3 days a week, general things. And if he wants to practice his throws, which he should, do it at a reduced amount. He doesn't need to be going 20, 30 minutes. He can do 10, 15 of each. And then in addition to that, any other activities he wants to run, like jogging or biking or swimming, anything like that, general fitness would be fine as well. And that's it. I'm sure you're smiling as much as I am right now, so you don't have to finish watching this. Okay, I know we said we were gonna have this be the end, but